Welcome back to History in Motion, proudly brought to you by Midas. What had Paige Lindenberg been up to?
I went to a conference 2 weeks ago called the National Achievers Congress, and I was fortunate enough to sit next to Tisetso and his family, and we got to know him over the 2 days, and he's just such an inspirational young boy. There's nothing that puts him down in life and stops him from doing anything, and he was playing computer games, and it was a racing game, and I said to him, do you like cars? And he said he loves cars. So I said, come to our race in 2 weeks, we'll take you for a ride in a car and you can experience a real race car. And he just did.
Yeah, but it was fun.
And I'm sure Tisetso had a lot of fun watching the Lotus Challenge as well. Race 2 gets underway and Jeff Gable leads the field into turn 1. Behind him, Clark, Delata and Gearing are 3 abreast. Brave racing from the trio. John Glover leads Sean Hewitt and Anton Goose. James Forbes has a great view of the pair as he follows them through and up to turn 3. Side by side, Goose and Hewitt go. Hewitt on the outside really pushing hard, looking for a way past, heading onto the back straight. James Forbes, seeing them locked in battle and slowing each other down, decides it is time to join in the action and has a look down to the left. David Jeremy, meanwhile, has made his move down the inside of Forbes and is now lining up Anton Goose as they head into Sunset. Through Sunset, and Goose manages to hold on, while Forbes looks to come back on Jeremy as they head up to Clubhouse. Into Clubhouse, and Forbes has the inside line, manages to get past David Jeremy and has a look down the inside of Goose. Into the S's, Neil Delata and Rob Gearing are side by side, with Gable managing to pull a slight gap at the front. Gearing leads Neil Delata and Glenn Clark up to Learcorp, but there really is nothing between these three. Into the first left-hander, and Delata has to take the long way around as Gearing nabs the inside line and Clark is right behind him. John Glover is right on the tail of this tight battle. Dropping down the mine shaft, and Neil Delata is now alongside Glenn Clark as the pair race down to the bowl. Rob Gearing ahead of them is managing to pull away slightly. Through the bowl, and Delata comes out ahead of Clark with Glover hot on his heels. Wheel to wheel, Delata and Clark climb up to the double left-handers of Learcorp. Through the first left-hander, Delata on the inside carries the advantage. Through the second, and Delata leads them down the mine shaft. Clark comes back at him as they approach the bowl. Clark has the inside line, and this should work to his advantage. Clark goes past, and Glover follows him through. Delata tries to come back at them, but is unable to do so at the moment. Coming into turn 14, and James Forbes has the inside line on Anton Goose. He makes the move and goes out wide on the exit. This allows Goose to come back at him as they get onto the main straight. Down the hill, Andre Darfel leads Rob Mordaunt, Carl Sharp and Andre Duplessis. Through turn 14 they go, and the Adaptive Resource Engineers Birkin 7 is going well. Onto the main straight now, and Rob Mordaunt in the Allied Transport Birkin 7 has a bit of a look down the right of the Had Birkin 7 of Darfel. Not quite close enough yet. Nose to tail, they head through turn 1. Into the bowl, Tinus Bronkhorst leads Estelle Vermoerten. Vermoerten goes wide on the exit and runs onto the grass. She turns back across the track and runs straight into the barrier. Heavy impact there. Let's take a look at the replay. Vermoerten runs wide onto the grass and then tries to rejoin the track, but is unable to turn and accelerates into the barrier. Luckily she is okay, but the car will be going no further. A three-way battle makes its way into turn 1. Johan van Niekerk leads Tim Clamp and Greg Samuel through the corner. Clamp and Samuel nose to tail through turn 2. Samuel pushing hard, runs a bit wide on the approach to turn 3. Clamp makes the most of it, but Samuel is able to recover and is back on the power quickly. Down the hill to turn 14, and Darfel is still ahead of Rob Mordaunt, but his advantage is slight. Mordaunt pushing hard, is looking for a way past, and Darfel is doing his best to fend him off. Ken Cloud leads Sean Allen down the straight. Allen currently leading Class C. Behind him, Andre Darfel and Rob Mordaunt have a great battle going on. Into Learcorp comes race leader Jeff Gable. Rob Gearing has closed right back up on him, and it looks like it could turn into a repeat of the thrilling Race 1 battle. Rob Gearing in his Clive Wilmot racing machine, pushing really hard, and is glued to the bumper of Jeff Gable in the Talon Motorsport Birkin 7. Into the bowl, and Gable stays out in the lead. These two drivers have provided us with some fantastic racing today, and they look to be continuing this trend. Through turn 13, Gearing pushing hard and is keeping the power down. Coming down the hill to turn 14, and he's almost alongside Gable. Gearing really putting in the effort here. The A-line wheels, Birkin 7 of Ken Cloud leads the pack into the bowl. Sean Allen takes the inside line and makes his move. Allen moves ahead of Cloud and pushes up the hill. Andre Darfel behind them has his hands full with Rob Mordaunt and Carl Sharp hot on his heels. Mordaunt having a look down the inside. Heading into turn 13, Ken Cloud has a look down the inside of Sean Allen and manages to retake the position he lost in the previous corner. Behind them, Andre Darfel is feeling no release from the pressure of Mordaunt. Quinton Roux comes into the bowl ahead of the battle for the lead. Jeff Gable's ahead of Rob Gearing. Through the bowl they go, and Gable and Gearing will be anxious to get past Roux as quickly as possible. Gearing has a look to the right of Gable and makes his move as they climb up the hill, passing the blue machine. Through turn 13, and Gearing slots in behind Roux. Coming down the hill, and Jeff Gable has moved alongside Rob Gearing. Gearing has lost out, and Gable retakes the lead as they go through the final corner. Awesome racing from the pair. Gearing doing everything he can to come back at Gable, but he's not able to do it before the checkered flag comes out, and it's Gable who takes the double victory on the day. Fantastic racing from Gable and Gearing. Into the final bend, and Ken Cloud is still ahead of Sean Allen, who's coming under pressure from Rob Mordaunt, who's challenging down the inside of the final bend. Side by side, they power down the straight to the checkered flag. There's nothing in it between them. They cross the line just 0.04 of a second apart, and it's Sean Allen ahead of Rob Mordaunt. Jeff Gable taking a hard-fought double victory on the day ahead of Rob Gearing. Neil Delata, Glenn Clark and John Glover just separated by over a second, and Sean Allen taking a double victory in Class C, and the same for Andre Duplessis in Class L.
I beat them all. Just to prove a point, I beat Rob with half a meter.
Yeah, I let him beat me by half a meter because, I'm on Joburg turf. Came up from KZN, and we've had a brilliant season so far. He's always been quicker than me, but he's got to watch himself now. It was tight. We were both riding clutches, and it was. I'm going to move my transponder next race. It's going to be in the front of the car.
You can move it where he wishes. He won't beat me.
No, it was a good race. Myself and Rob really had it. I think I had it for about 7 laps, and then I let him through just to switch over the positions from the first sprint. So I go, the Natal boys, they must not come here for nothing. So we gave them a little bit of chance.
A very eventful, hard ride, very enjoyable. I saw everything from the back. I did catch up with him, but I couldn't pass them. They're too fast.
I had quite a nice start. I think I jumped 4 guys on the start, and I was lying second for about half a lap. And then Rob came past me, and then the 3 of us had a tussle the whole race through. Luckily, right at the end, put both of them to the line.
It was the best heat I've ever had. May not be the best result, but best heat I've ever had. Fighting out of control. I think we each had a moment or two. It was brilliant.
Neil must have borrowed some of John's testosterone cream for his parts. He definitely got us off the line. He got a blistering start. We swapped places a few times, and he just came straight back at me. Quite often side by side down the mine shaft, and you have to trust your fellow racers doing that. And very clean, awesome. Every time I thought I could get away from him, he just came straight back on me, and I made a mistake here and there. Had the gear knob in my hand at one stage, and that wasn't very good for lap times, but what a race.
Quick question, did Henry Ford make a card of soybeans? Find out after the break.
Join us after the break for more exciting action from Kyalami.